A very good evening and welcome to this episode of The Big Picture by Africa Uncensored, where we have big, important conversations with big guests. Before we start today's show, I first have to introduce my co-host, the ever-brilliant surgeryist, comedian, and human rights activist,
Justine Wanda. Hi.
We're excited to have you on another episode of The Big Picture. Justine and I will be having our guest in a few minutes. Before we get to the guest and our topic for the day, I want you to watch the trailer to our latest documentary, The Last Catch. Produced by William Moige, it looks into the death of Brian Odhiambo, the apparent or alleged death of Brian Odhiambo, because a lot of those circumstances remain unconfirmed. But the documentary follows his family, his mother, the people who knew him, and one other victim of police, you can say, brutality or state brutality through the Kenya Wildlife Service around Lake Nakuru. Brian was a fisherman, and many other fishermen have gone missing or turned up dead because of KWS action. William takes you through the journey of how that fish comes from the lake illegally, then ends up on your plate. Without further ado, I don't want to speak much on it. Here's a trailer to The Last Catch.
Pale ndio Brayo aliruka fence, akaenda kaangukia pale. Hapo ndio KWS walianza kumpiga.
Na kutoka hiyo siku
Sijaiona mtoto wangu.
Justice for my son. Justice for my son. Justice for my son.
it is a sad story but it is necessary to tell.
Tunaweza kuchukua na kusinkisha. Unaweza enda utupiwa tafisi.
Kuna maofisa wachache hawa wana control mambo ya uuzaji fish kwa njia ya haramu.
That was The Last Catch. If you want more details on the deathly side of Lake Nakuru, go watch it. Produced by William Moige, one of the best at Africa Uncensored. Now, let's get to the real conversation, the real reason why you're watching us today. Justine and I are joined by a special guest this evening. This episode is going to be dedicated to the late Agnes Wanjiru, her story. She was brutally murdered by a British soldier in Nanyuki over 13 years ago now. And just now, the details of her killer are coming to life, but also more importantly, her story is coming to focus. Today, we are joined by Agnes Wanjiru's niece, Esther Muchiri. Esther, thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you here, but the reason we have this show today is everything sad. What happened to your late aunt, Agnes Wanjiru? For those who don't have any knowledge of what happened at that time, could you please give us a brief explanation of your remembrance of what happened?
My name is Esther Muchiri. I'm the family spokesperson and I'm the niece to the late Agnes Wanjiru. In the year 2012, Agnes, on that 1st of March, Agnes went missing. She had left with her two friends to go and meet, but she never made it back. And on 1st April, it was no April Fool's to us. That's when he discovered that she went missing and she was last seen in the company of British soldier. And it took us 2 months to discover that her body was in the hotel sector where she went to and landed. And from there, it has been a long journey looking for justice. Yeah.
And as you can confirm this, but you're now 21 years old. This was 13 years ago. So that means you were around 7 to 8 years old. What do you remember that time?
When Agnes passed away, I was 8 years old. Now I'm 21. And from 8 to 21, I've seen my family go through a lot of pain until today because justice has not yet been served. I was there when she went missing. The process, that time we were looking for her. She left a 5-month-old baby. Now we are taking care of her. She's crying because her mom, she's not there. No one could stop her from crying. And also now, when we discovered the body had been found in the hotel septic tank, the process of now burying her, this postmortem, DNA, and now we started the process of justice, going to court. And now in 2019, that's when the the inquest concluded that 2 of both soldiers were culpable of her murder. And again, these are our case had been stonewalled for far too long. And after 2019, the court preferred that the DPP to open charges, but they never did. It's until 2021 when the Sunday Times investigated and knew that there was a prime suspect of this case. And from then, just being back and forth until now. Last week, yes, that's when we had that. Now the charges will be open, and now the warrant of arrest had been issued.
Okay, my question to you, when you say the ODPP could not care less and your family was stonewalled, could you give us at least an outlook of what that looks like? Because a lot of people are in these particular situations, and when they're met with something so gruesome, so difficult to deal with, they don't know what that is. And I think it would be good to break that down.
Okay. The case of Agnes Wanjiru, it's a case of massive cover-up, right from when her body was disposed in the septic tank to until when we ran that, the prime suspect is being protected by the British government. In Nanyuki, there's presence of British soldiers there because they have their training camps there, and they have their barracks. So there's so many stories of them. There's so many stories of British atrocities, and that's why even I think it was hard for the DPP to prefer charges, because also they are our donors. How can you report your donor? So that's where the issue is coming from until today, because Kenya benefits a lot from the British government, and also they were our colonizers. So neocolonialism is still in Kenya. That's what is uneven for our government to take such actions, especially against the soldiers who have committed crime.
Yeah. Back to your remembrance of this, while you were growing up, I've read that over 2,000 women have reported, and the cases of rape allegations have been dismissed by the British authorities. What's it like growing up in Nanyuki? I imagined you've grown up there, you've lived there. How do these British soldiers operate? Do they operate like they're above the law? What do they add to the town of Nanyuki? What's it like?
Presence of British soldiers in Nanyuki, it's a bittersweet relationship with them, because yes, there are some who benefit from them, those who work at their camp, but to some now, us, there are so many victims of their atrocities, and now that's where the bittersweet is coming from. And I think the bittersweet's the one that is big and they shouldn't sigh, because when these soldiers commit crime, they get away with it. So it makes it hard. Yes, their presence in Nanyuki, because whatever happens in Nanyuki remains in Nanyuki to the Somes. It's a partisan there. So that's why it's a big partisan in Nanyuki. So their presence makes the people of Laikipia think it's a bittersweet relationship for sure. Yeah, and there's some who say that, but they help the economy, Laikipia. But I always ask, did they come to Mamamboka there? No. They have specific joints that they go. They have specific places that they are allowed to go. And even recently, there is an inquiry, and even in the inquiry report, they were banned from certain hotels, but they never mentioned the hotels or where they were banned from going. And it can show you. But I always wonder why those people who say, but they benefit from that. How are you benefiting from this ticket? In the okay, it's okay, but for us who understand more, no offense, because I understand some are still colonial, they have colonized minds.
Yeah.
I understand.
Something that you've said that has caught my attention, that whatever happens in Nanyuki stays in Nanyuki. And you can tell from the captions, from the Facebook posts of the alleged killer of Agnes Wanjiru, that he was almost insinuating what you've said. The caption read, "If you know, you know." And that was almost a reference to what happened to your aunt. But for all those people who are there, it's an inside joke. So for those who know what happened, know. How is it like with the women there? I'm asking this because there's cases from all the way in 1990s of women being raped. One was walking from the river and was grabbed by two men and raped there. Others, stories of gang rape. When you speak to the British authorities about these issues, they themselves dismissed over 2,000 cases of this exact thing. What happened to your aunt is an extreme case of this. It's violence in the extreme form. What do they tell you? You've been speaking with them since you were 17 years old. That's crazy. First of all, good job to you for speaking up for your aunt and for your family at such a young age. But what's it like?
Yes, I've had several conversations with the British government representatives. And all what they say is when they call out these victims, they don't come out to give their evidence or something. But sometimes it's hard, especially the sexual harassment cases, because it's a case sometimes because of the call gas. So, and then these women fear to go and report because at our local police station, there is a gender desk and it is funded by Batuk. So it is hard for their cases to be taken serious. I know of one, she was raped with a bottle and action was taken. And she went through depression and now she can't come on to speak out of what happened. Yes, for us it's a benefit because now I'm there, I'm speaking out of what, like I'm speaking out what happened, this is what happened, they did wrong, you need to do something. But for the other victims, they always feel, I think, shame because I think there's the other dark side of maybe you'll be discriminated as and they keep bullied or definitely you are there for sex, but but no one deserves to go or do this what the soldiers do. No one deserves it. Because if it was a consent, then do it in the right way. Don't have to harm me. But it seems these soldiers feel entitled in Nanyuki because if they can buy sex, they can afford the life in Kenya. That's the one that makes them feel entitled. And also they know they have powers. Like the other men like no one can do anything, even our company can do anything. That's really solve those issues, and then even these guys are scared to go out to say this is what happened, this is my story, I want justice to be served. There's even cases even in their camps of sexual harassment. I don't know how they are handled, but most of the cases they're about taken serious because when it comes, because you will be asked for evidence, for sure you don't know this today. There's so many of them, you can't know who. And then when they're in Nanyuki, they use nicknames. We don't use their real names because even in the inquest, you can see they were using nicknames to the root or not using their real names. So you see, you can be thinking of, he told me he's Tom, and you could take him and they will be told there's no one named Tom. So that's why I think it's hard, even for these cases to read.
Yeah. Justine, you had some very interesting thoughts before we started about the Kenyan government and this role.
I think for me, this particular case is a magnification of how the Kenyan system operates. Kenyans were colonized through direct rule, which means what the British did is what the Kenyan government ended up being structured as. All those institutions that were there before were not brought down. All these institutions still remain in place. We've seen how the police operates in Kenya, even with extreme cases where someone is arrested. They're not even read their rights. I found out last week that when they arrest you, they're supposed to tell you these are your rights. May just thought like they'll pick you up from the city. That's no more. And a lot of Kenyans sometimes don't even know that's supposed to happen. We've seen last week, I think it's Simon Warui and Samson Ouma Wanda, who died in a prison. He was beaten in a different police state cell in Kitale, and then he ended up dying in a prison while in remand. And also Simon Warui, I think he went missing in Nairobi. He ended up dying in a police cell in Mombasa. We saw Albert Ojong, who was picked up in his house, Homa Bay. He died when he was beaten up in Central Police Station. And these are not isolated cases.
Yeah.
It's a mirror of the direct rule that was here before. So my belief is, and according to what Esther's daughters, it's not just one thing. It's not that the incompetence of the Kenyan government officials and the defunding of very important segments. Like your gender desk is funded by an outsider. Of course, they get to control what happens. The independence is kind of blurred because if there are no rules that specifically state even if you give them money, you don't get to control what goes out. I think that blurs the line so much.
Yeah.
And the mirroring of direct rule of the British in the Kenyan governance structures, in policing, in community, in government overreach, in dismissal of everyday mwananchi is very, very prevalent in Agnes's case.
Yes.
And I was telling you, Tom, earlier that this is not just like Kenyan government incompetence, it's an extension of colonialism. Yeah.
Do you think the same?
For sure it is.
Yeah.
I've seen it in our case. I've seen how their systems are weak because this is a matter that was reported up to Taisi. When the body was discovered in the hotel septic tank, it was never put a crime scene. They took the body to the morgue. And what I know, like, they should have arrested everyone in the hotel. Although even the hotel is culpable because how would these, like, a foreigner could access the septic tank? I mean, someone helped him in the hotel, and then you can carry the body from the room to the septic tank. It's a distance, so of course he was there by some hotel. The police never laid any arrests, but at least the case was taken to courts because of course we had a Catholic charity group that was helping us to keep on pushing for justice. I think that's why it made the case at risk into courts and they considered at risk. And so even in the court, you could see how journalists we are, because the the IO could not be able to get the names of it was hard for him to get the names of these. So there's a whole other process. And then even there's so many omissions that are done in the inquest, and then we are coming to run in the meet, and then even not all witnesses testified in the courts. We came out to learn of other witnesses, and thinking of that is, I know it was just a way of covering out, but the magistrate who led that case, there's somewhere she said, innocent blood clears out blood ray from ground, and it may be the case for Agnes, and for sure it is, because I think Agnes has been crying out loudly for her child, because she's not doing okay mentally. She came to learn of this in 2021 to out, and I think it is hard for her to accept it happened, and then also seeing that because she's at a stage where she's understanding everything, now she's coming even to learn that the person who killed her mom went ahead to joke about it, and this something that event was reported in the wee hours, because after this soldier killed Agnes, he went and told his friends that have killed her, and one of the friends asked him, where is she? He took them to the septic tank and they saw Agnes' body. And then one of the friends told him, I'll never forgive you. And he made a call to the barracks and they were picked. The one who was driving them to the barracks could hear their mouth saying, I'll never forgive you. It was reported, but the guy who reported, he was told to shut up and he was being mobbed. It went ahead even that the senior commandants would joke with the junior ones, telling them, today don't go out strong repeat. And they still, because yes, at just now, the matter is in court. Before, it was always the issue of the investigation is still going on. But you guys are even guilty. We know very well what happened. You're the one who covered up. Even the senior commanders are guilty because why did they to take action? But now you are always blaming Kenyan on dragging the investigation and everything. But you are the first people who could have made this happen. But arresting the soldier, taking him to the Kenyan police, and so that it can be easy for Agnes. But since it's not, these guys are be used to getting away with crimes. They don't care. They don't care about. They're inhumane for sure. Because joking even about seeing a child at the grave, crying at the grave, sure.
Yeah.
So it's the UK government still wants us to believe they're innocent. How? They knew all of the. And then even after the story popped out, hey, the investigation has really dragged themselves. Slow.
Yeah.
It's a two the other day now. I'm like, okay, but
Surely, it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
And I think just to Esther's point, one of the things that we keep seeing recurring is like, oh, the Kenyan government is dragging its feet. That is true because the Kenyan government, I don't even think they have feet to drag at this point. It's just like they're very complicit in a certain way. But at the same time, it's the recognition of the Kenyan government doesn't have that much jurisdiction across the border. We are barely, if the gender desk in Nanyuki is being funded by literal outsiders, expecting them to even have that kind of reach outside of the country where they're like calling the British government and following up on inquests when in their own backyard they're barely even aware of what is going on. I think it's a little bit of a David Goliath situation where the Goliath is still holding territory in David's house. Like it's a very insane ask. So even if someone had a lot of goodwill, there's already so many different barriers between wanting to do the right thing, having the resources to do the right thing, and being able to do the right thing. So if inside there's already like military boys will be boys protection, going past that into the UK, like trying to stop the UK government from protecting a predator. It's I'm trying to not cast, but also it's just layers of failure.
Yeah.
It's layers of failure on so many different levels. And I really wish that it didn't come from a place of like letting people down over the course of a decade.
Yeah.
For it. And even it took the Sunday Times being the story.
Foreign paper.
Yes, for the story to be taken serious. It's almost like every single person who's published a story and is a local investigator and actually cares about this person, their story doesn't matter till a foreign entity is like, oh yeah, we are telling this story, and then now it becomes serious again. You're telling us how many interviews have you done?
We lost count.
So
But Justine, I think you're right. I'm 100% sure you're right. And you make a good point about the vestiges of colonialism and how they still manifest right now. But I think most of the blame from where I sit goes to the Kenyan government. 2,000 of women who are citizens of the country you claim to lead have been raped. Some of them gang raped, and unimaginable things like what you've mentioned have happened to them. But you still want to maintain that funding and the base because it teaches you how to handle terrorism in Somalia. While I understand why that is important, 2,000 women from your country have been raped and their claims and allegations of rape have been disregarded by the person who funds you. If you are any government with a spine, you will take action. You will take action. You might even sanction the king. The king was here a year ago, I believe, right? And the prime minister came here. Remember when Theresa May was prime minister, she came here and they had a whole guard of honor for her. All whilst the aunt of your aunt Esther had been murdered and they knew full well what had happened. You cannot tell me that in those discussions with the prime minister, with the king, they shut Nairobi's doors all over the town and closed all those roads to have the King Charles, come in the country. You cannot tell me that all those meetings and chances and those opportunities that you had to speak up for all these thousands of people, you didn't have a chance to speak about it. I just can't think of the government not being complicit in all this. They knew, they covered up, they were part of the whole problem. And now because the pressure has mounted, because the pressure has gone overseas and now the identity of this man has been revealed, now with all the lobbying and all the conversations that have been started and you going to interviews 100% contributor to the result that we're seeing right now, this man is almost being extradited.
yes.
The government had tons and tons of opportunities to do this. You could chase away the ambassador, put pressure on him, sever ties to some degree. I believe that the parliamentary report also recommended that, severing ties. You cannot tell me that the Kenyan government had no hand in this.
Can I just push back on like the parliamentary committee severing ties? And this is not even like a colonialism thing. Like I want to speak about the head of the defense committee.
Yeah.
The one that's handling this particular case. His name is Nelson Koech. This man stood up during some rally and he said, I've had the Interiors, yes. No, I've heard the president say shoot to maim. I'm not saying shoot to maim, shoot to kill. Doesn't he see the irony in how he sees Kenyans? Because your dismissal of Kenyans is not a one-sided approach. If you're going to chase for such a big case, like what the Batuk has done, like continuously in this country, how they've let down citizens like Agnes. And in that moment, you want to speak from the other side of your mouth and say shoot to kill Kenyans. What message are you sending? You have to stand for something again and again and again.
Yeah.
Even if it's it goes directly against your own habitual age. Because I feel like Agnes was not just let down from the level of incompetence. She was let down because sometimes Kenya does not see its citizens as people of value.
That's very true. Very powerful point. I don't think they see all these women as people of value. If it was
Just to protect
our Kenyan government, because they have to take it. Because since Agnes passed away, we have had three presidents in defending writing. How long it took for action to be taken? And also, hey, there's no Kenyan official government who has ever visited Agnes' family. But they have been out here and see now they are helping us to get justice. Even though we have women rep, MP, no one at the MCA went out there. No one. The only ethic officials were met from the UK. And the first time I met, I think it's when now this issue is escalated more. And that's when the defense committee came to Nanyuki to write the inquiry. And of course, I had to present my family. That's when they met. After that, I've never heard from them. There's a time, yes, I went to Nanyuki that was okay, like before, at the Pendant House and the presenter. But since then, you have not even had their report. The charges have been opened and okay, well, what were you working for? Because why are we not getting this report? And then just not, for sure, our government is really failing us because in 22, when the Sunday Times reported, the MP said that we will not send the DCA agreement until the case of families has been closed. He 3 years down the line. You're still training in Kenya. What are they doing? The other time again, Quite said, since the High Commissioner had stabbed the committee, they were also, but this is what you have been saying all along, but you have not been doing. All what they care about is what they get from the British. Was there's a time, in July, the president was there, even Honorable Foyet was there, but you never saw them raising any issue of the British victims, the victims of the British atrocities. I never saw that. But when he came back, now that's when the things changed, and now they started drawing ball at teacher. It has been like that, drawing ball at teacher. Then you ask the British government as always, shopping Kenyan authorities. When you ask them, it's like it's the British. Okay, wow, they continue playing games.
Yeah. If you're a serious government, you'd take control of the investigation and put more pressure. Back to Agnes and the person who's surviving her now, her daughter. How old is her daughter and what does she say of her mom?
I think Agnes passed, she was 5 months old. Now she's turning 40. Agnes brought up Kill's plan about her mom in 2022 when the story popped out. And it was hard for us to explain to her first. She saw it on television. She would come from school and then she's just like, and I just went to sleep. Now she's seeing, because we are not trying to tell her this is what happened. Because all these years we have been hiding it with the birth certificate, everything that you know that has her mom's been hiding it, because very, how look on them tell her this is what happened. So that we had to, definitely, it's everywhere. Now, daughter hiding you. We told her business situation, and then this is what she said. She's saying, my mom, since my mom remained to be her mom, and my dad remained to be her dad. And she said, she asked, why is her mom's perpetrator has never been arrested? And since then, she has not been easy, I can tell you. She's going through a lot mentally. End up being out and locating for her mental health, because then, the government is the one capable of her mental health, because they're the one who will never take action. It's not us, it's them. They're the one making her to go through all that. Right, what is sad, especially when these stories are all over the television. She just cries. And she doesn't want to do anything to do with her mom. Even and you ask her, what do you want to be done? She just say, I don't want anything, but I understand that people with the trauma. Even the psychiatrist report, because there's a time we had a report and the psychiatrist, she says she has PTSD. And for sure she is happy, because even during the Secretary of State for Defense meeting, she cried all through the meeting.
She had to be present.
Yeah, she had to be present, but she cried through the whole meeting. And sometimes it's hard. Yes, of course, at the family are there to comfort her. And that's why I took that. I came out to speak for her because I know she can speak for herself and me. And also I think she's her mom's case, there's so many stories and the people are so insensitive. And I think that's the reason why even she had never told any of her friends what happened to her mom. She has never spoken about it, even to us as the family. And you ask her, she's uncomfortable and you let her be. Because she's not ready. So that's why I advocate anywhere, pressure in the government to compensate the family so that at least she can get some assistance. In therapy, but she can accept whatever happened, it happened, and at least retire. But when they keep on dragging, I think in the next years, I don't think she'll be okay because she's until now, it's the time that she means her mom. That this is someone that she never got to know, but she's learning her through the media, the stories. It's unfortunate, and especially when she's crying, you feel like crying as well. It's always break my heart, especially for her. And that's why I was fighting for her.
It's heartbreaking. Yeah. Justine, it's been 13 years. It's 13, right? It's been 13 years since this happened. And now, just now, and in the past few years is when the agreements for Bartok and the participation of British soldiers on Kenyan soil, the agreement between them and this counterterrorism training that they do and the amounts, that's just coming to light with the story of Agnes. And I think what Agnes's story and case has done, Agnes has become the ambassador for the actions of the British soldiers in Bartok, because the 2,000 women who've been raped, that's been reported before, but there isn't a headline that has stayed there as much as Agnes's. Among those agreements is that for some peculiar reason, the 8 offenses have been listed for British soldiers for which they may face trial in Kenyan courts, and they include sexual offenses, torture, inhumane or degrading treatment of others, organized crime, slavery, offenses against Kenya's national security, robbery, and third participation in any of the above crimes. But for some reason, the greatest crime humanity has ever known, murder, is not part of that list. This was a rude shock to me.
I think they didn't put murder there maybe because of Mau, maybe. I think there has to be a trace between wanting to shield themselves in this story.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing a story of the Conservancy.
Yeah.
That was burnt. Like there was a fire. And it was because of the Patini's training, and then they caused a fire. And also them were just laughing about it. They were acting like it's not a big deal.
Yes.
And a lot of environmentalists at the time said this particular issue has affected a lot of the ecosystem around this area. There are animals that are probably not back into. We're going to see a rise in human and animal conflict because of that particular fire. But the way the soldiers themselves were talking about it, it was almost like a laughable thing. It's like, oh, it's just a small fire. Why are you acting like a big deal? And then layer this with, there's a kid who I think picked up something that had not exploded, and they ended up killing them. It exploded in 2015. And all these cases to me are not isolated. It means if you're not going to investigate one crime, it's going to grow into several more crimes. Agnes's story is gruesome, and there's also this thing where, as you pointed out, there's rumors around her life and who she was and how she moved through the world, and everyone is always seeking for a perfect victim. Like she was out there and she had to be humble. She has to be humble and meek and not have any a life outside of just being a regular human being for her to acquire sympathy, which is the wrong way to look at this story. We're supposed to always be thinking about Kenyans as themselves, as the value that they have to their family, to her daughter. Like, those are connections that you cannot play around here. And if we find stories of dismissal of rape and having people still come back and train here and allowed the same liberties to move around because they're getting money into the economy, it means you put money over people, you put property over people. There's a dismissal of the Kenyan life that's already wired into the contracts they keep signing. And if those contracts do not change and they're like, oh, murder is not important, like people murder each other all the time, that's wrong. It's a deeply, deeply immoral stance that the government has, that the British government has taken and the Kenyan government has agreed to. It's like you're sacrificing the citizens for a very small portion of approval, for money, for property, for anything outside of Kenyans. And if these stories are not stopped, it's not just the 69 mixed-race children who have come out to seek their fathers. It's not just Agnes. It's not just Agnes's child. It's these variations of manipulating and allowing a system to continue that is not just going to stop with these people who've been hanged. It's going to continue. 10 years down the line, we're probably going to have more cases. The contracts, the agreements, if people who actually need help and need to be protected are not protected, we're going to still have.
We're going to still have these kind of problems. It's a cyclical thing. It keeps happening. I'm curious to hear something else, Esther. You met with the now current Secretary for Defense of the UK. Then he was Shadow Defense Secretary John Healey. And I'm just seeing articles of him speaking for the king, yada, yada, all that. But you met him in 2021. At that time, you were very young. How old were you in 2021? You met him this year as well, when he was Defense Secretary.
Yeah, no, he's the Secretary of State for Defense.
Yeah.
And we met with him this year in April, April 7. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a labour meeting, arranging that specific meeting. It was a whole other thing. While he was in opposition, he was saying that the MOD were there, they're sitting out their hands. He came into power. Wow, that's when now things started to change. When he came, I promised he would like to meet Agnes' family. He has interest in this case. You can imagine from last year, June to April, we have just been discussing about meeting.
We just like scheduling a calendar. That's what's stopping any kind of...
Yeah. So he came, but I think his visit was just to offer analysis and to listen to his family grievances, because afterwards, after he left, that's when now we discovered, we're like, okay, wow, this girl was not here to listen to us, tackle it. But I don't know how it's like that day, so many things happening. After we met him, immediately the DPP said that, announced that he's now preferring charges. The investigation has concluded. Hey, we have waited until last week. And I think the DPP did that to cover up, to cover up his visit, as of course he's a senior official. And then even in the meeting, we had so many issues, because I remember them asking me to send them questions before, and they refused. I said, no, I can't send.
Who asking you to send questions?
Of course, the Secretary of State.
Yeah.
Of course, now it's the embassy were asking. I said, no. They said they don't want the press. We said, it's okay, but after meeting, I'll have to address the press. And then the meeting was just between him and the immediate family. So the lawyers were not there. By the way, our lawyers have never met any official, any government official. They have refused to sign, even up to Kuwait. They have never even tried to reach out to them, said, okay, come. No, they refuse.
But if I'm a liaison to you, or that doesn't exist?
I don't know what's their reason, but I think it's because they knew, of course, when the clears come, they'll have to approach this matter the legal way. So I think that's the idea. They have been refusing. And then since Of course, I don't think they were ready even to suggest justice. So, and then even from, hey, and the one who always appointed for his meeting, I wrote him a letter. There's a letter I wrote about Agnes, as celebrating Agnes' 12th anniversary. And that's when he said that when he gets to power, this is what he'll do. Even when King Charles was in Kenya, I sent him a letter, but unfortunately, we were managed that time. I almost got arrested because of course, it's King Charles. Why are you coming telling us about it can be? You were blocking his visited everything. I remember that we almost got arrested. I've never gotten any response from King Charles, of which it is okay. I know he's the commander-in-chief. He refused to tell his boys to do the right thing. I know he doesn't want to do that, but at least now, I'm seeing at least some progress. Even though Johnny, he heads to make me to do the end of all these, because I had to push him to go to the UK. After that meeting, everything changed. Everything that we asked him, he refused. And I remember my lowest moments being a public advocating for Agnes, right, is this year June. It was just after Stacy had come from, now the childest had come from the Minta. That week we were expecting good news, like, okay, the government has accepted, now you're compensated. He said no. And they even know that this, like, whatever we have requested, they will not allow. They will just keep on pushing for further dates. Others 1 week, and then when our lawyers just tell us it is unfortunate, just though we are refused. So it was the same week that we learned that they have said they can't compensate. Their reason was very clear. The criminal investigation is still going on. And we were told, even though we go to the English court, if we issue proceedings in the English court, to go and tell the court, it's until the criminal matter is true that you can see. And you can imagine for a family each and waiting for that thing. And then we had to tell him, just compensate us because we know the criminal matter is taken. Certainly someone you don't know as a family. This is something that the two governments has make, that the one feeding us, there's nothing we can do as a family. And then the criminal matter is upon the two states to know what they can do, but as a family, we can't do anything about it. This guy. Now the other matter was about criminal. We tried to follow up, we could define it and take him back to ECI. The response that you are getting, hey, they are so hard workers. They're even telling us, even for them, they're not being given this information. Tried to reach out to the DCI, also no response. Trials. It's not something new because I don't think the Kenyan government has ever cooperated with it in the family of our lawyers. These instances that I'll not mention which government body say that they don't make our lawyers in UK. So
They told you that expressly.
They don't have to like a lawyers, they just have to be able to work to making sure Agnes gets justice. That's FNAT.
That now has been always the issue because, and it's not even the UK government, the issues again with the same law. That is the lawyers represented as the UK. The both government, they're always uncomfortable with that. Of which now, it's not about the law, it's about this family, especially now, the child who was led. But that one has not been the context to the government. When them is like, no, don't. There's always been a don't care attitude. Hey, you've gone through a lot.
And what does it, without mentioning things that are before the courts, you have to be very careful with the things we say in this question. How do you feel seeing the face and the identity of the person who allegedly did that to your aunt public?
For sure, I was not expecting such a face, by the way, because I think he changed after he murdered. He's a whole changed person. Even he doesn't even Amanda. There's a way Amanda has always spoke like he bad for he's totally new. He has news. Of course.
Allegedly.
Can do
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Since it's been 13 years, of course, this is someone that has been protected. So yeah, like okay, I've seen him, but again, like okay, no. I'm feeling sorry for her daughter because I don't know for sure now the sincere reaction should come from her because she was experienced Now she's the one who leads experience. It's actually adjusts there. Hey, seeing this face on the at least someone was get protected. If it was in 2012, at least I could have got in a good reaction. But now it's 19 years, someone has been protected. His life has changed. So the okay, it's okay, he's the one. Now, what's the next? That's the next thing. And if they don't want him to be extradited in Kenya, or if himself also he doesn't want to be extradited in Kenya, why did he kill a Kenyan woman? He should be extradited for sure because he went ahead to joke. So you what he did. So he should face them all. So the UK government, because of their inaction, they should compensate the back, especially even for the trauma that you have. And patiently waiting for that thing as for two governments to act. Yet they have been out here saying now they advocate for human rights.
Very telling, because the British government is one of those governments that offer statements whenever people are killed in protests in Kenya, and they're at the forefront of fighting for human rights. It's just confusing and shocking to hear your thoughts and experiences with the same government. We're heading to the tail end of the show. Actually, we just left with a little over 10 minutes to wrap this up, Esther. I really just want to get to your feelings about this. Your experience over the past around 13 years since you were very young, you've known about this, you've grown up with this, and now you're even pursuing journalism and law, I presume, because of how much this case has affected you growing up. But there's this 14-year-old child who expects justice. You've met all these people, and Justine, you can speak before Esther speaks. Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel, Esther? Then I'll get to Justine.
Really very nice. I'm happy for sure because I don't think there in any time at that pally have ever tracked that one day justice will be served because of the massive cover-up that has been there. And then there's a case that it is a murder, but it's a political case. It's a very controversial case. So we feel happy. Yes, now whatever it has been broken in the UK government, because it has always been the issue of the UK government. The investigation, the criminal matter, now at least now we have begun the process of serving justice, criminal matter. Now I think you can do the things in the right way. You can now begin to compensate this family. Not have to wait for the criminal matter to complete to compensate this child. Because the extradition process might take even any smaller better 10 years as we're still debating on the jurisdictions matter. I feel so happy, even though we have got the 13 years, it has not been easy. There's so many frustration. We are heartbroken, trauma. We are all sad because seeing how the government even is taking us for granted. So it's been a long journey, but now we are happy. At least we are seeing the likes at the end of that, and we are grateful. At least we also don't take it for granted. Of course, there's so many things they had to stop so that just now they can do this. It's shameful, but it's also shameful to the British government. And shame only because he never took action into the battle. You think they can get away with everything. It's so shameful, especially for you guys and the way you have been nurturing us outside here. It's so shameful. So we're hoping that now, since the process has begun, it will not take long. Please don't waste our time again. Do the right thing, and you fast track this case, and you need our source rest. We have suffered for that, so you don't have to suffer again, mother.
Justine, do you see light at the end of the tunnel? Or?
I think to me, I just reference Esther's words. I think it's like bittersweet because you don't need to fight this long and this hard for the bare minimum. Because even where the case is at now, it's another process. Having the face of what's his name, Robert. Having Robert's face published now after all those years is a testament to the protection of perpetrators. When Agnes's story was being told from all sorts of angles and her being degraded as a human being, she was made into like she was put in a very difficult position even after her tragic death.
Yeah.
Like she has to keep defending herself from the grave. And it has taken a lot from your family. It has taken a lot from the people of goodwill that you've met along the way to make sure that this case stays as true and purposeful, to make sure that Agnes gets justice, your family gets justice, and it just doesn't end with Agnes. The light at the end of the tunnel for me, at least in the conclusion of this case, when it's concluded, is when there's a precedent set against these types of atrocities. If that is not set, or that does not get changed in any way, not if that doesn't get written in the agreements, and we have a whole section, and we can even name it after Agnes, in honor of every single victim who's been ignored and violated and harmed continuously even after the fact. If that does not happen, I don't think we're getting light at the end of the tunnel. Justice for Agnes and every other victim of this kind of violence. I think the light at the end of the tunnel for me is it's at the place where it's at now. But for it to really, really be bright down there, it's to make sure that this does not happen to anyone ever.
Yeah, I share your optimism, both of you, but I just can't help but feel like the one thing that I see through this case is imperialism and colonialism of any kind always covers up for itself. The US has committed even worse atrocities across the world, in Afghanistan, anywhere they've set foot, in Libya. We're only coming to learn of it after WikiLeaks came out and the revelations of whistleblowers and everyone who was involved in that time. Same in Vietnam. The same thing here in Kenya during the colonial times. The government is even fighting the people who it's supposed to be protecting. Mau Mau veterans who've been fighting for justice for the longest time are still in their old age. Some have died seeking justice. Nothing has happened. Israel, what it's doing in Palestine. The governments of the UK, just yesterday, UK recognized Palestine as a state. Over 50 years since it had its people, and for the longest time it's been in existence. What it does is it always covers for itself. And by imperialism, I don't only mean foreign nations in our land. I also mean the Kenyan government.
In Haiti.
Yes, in Haiti, the Kenyan government, here in this country even, the Kenyan government is a colonial vestige to its own people. It does the same thing. It covers up for policemen who do brutal things to its people. I do not expect much from the Kenyan government, unfortunately. Neither do I expect much from the UK government. But I do know that there's going to be voices in the press, in civil society, and people like you, Esther, who are always going to be speaking up for what happened to your aunt and what keeps happening to women in Nanyuki and everywhere, in Somalia, where these foreign nations have bases. Now, to bring it home, guys, Esther, you might have not watched the show, but we have 2 segments where we wrap up the show. Before we let you have the last word, Justine, I'll let you go first before Esther. But for me, it will be to remind you again for the 3rd week, I think. This is like the 3rd week of us harping on about this. Continuous voter registration is supposed to be open it was supposed to be open on the 29th, so 7 days from now. It will open. Make sure you register as a voter. The election's a little over 2 years now. Go register. The ballots will open and you shouldn't be left out. That's why we're having this conversation, so you know which leader to vote for. Justine, I will get to you a bit before we get back to you, Esther, for the final word.
Mine, I just feel like in contrast of how like the value systems in Kenya work, I just wanted to say the last 2 weeks have been really, really great for the Kenyan, for like fans of Kenyan sport. We've seen the Kenyan women, the Kenyan team, the Kenyan athletics team do exceptionally well. I would just like to say shout out to Beatrice Chebet for the double gold. She won gold in the 5,000 meter race and in the 10,000 meter race. Paris Jepchirchir won the marathon. Faith Cherotich won the 3,000 meter steeplechase, and Lilian Odira won the 800 meter
run.
Yeah.
And this is the first time in history that a country has ever gotten gold in all the distance events. And Kenyan women did that, and I'm so proud of us. And also, the Kenyan team in its entirety, the Kenyan team got 11 medals total. And I forgot, Faith Kipyegon won the 1500 meters and got safe.
How could you, Justine?
What's with the face? And then I said, wrote each other. Faith Kipyegon won the 1500 meters, and she also got silver in the 5,000 meter race. And she had not trained for the 5,000 meter race. So she literally just like freelanced the 5,000 meters and she got the silver. So shout out to Faith Kipyegon. She is really, really, truly a hero. So I wanted to say congratulations to the Kenyan athletics team for absolutely crashing it at the Tokyo World Athletic Championship.
Yeah.
That the sports CS does not know is not the Olympics. To the sports CS, you need to know where you're at. You can't just be freelancing your brain at competitions. Like, you need to lock in and identify where you are. You have an assistant. Surely you can't just be, I don't know where I am. And if you're old, please, we can give, I think Faith Kipyegon can run both of those particular.
Yeah.
And please fix the running facilities for these athletes. Faith Kipyegon, just one an Olympic champion, had to come out on TV and request that you build them training facilities. Surely, well, how is an Olympian asking? Again, this comes back to the conversation you're having. Like, the Kenyan government has failed. Like, this is literal. It's literally an atrocity. Please, we cannot be begging for training facilities and Kenyans are winning gold and setting historic records. And lastly, outside of like the Kenyan athletics team doing exceptionally well, one of my favorite athletes of all time, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price, is retiring from short distance events where she's completely crashed it for over a decade. She has, I think, 17 medals, and it's so heartbreaking to see her leave the world stage like this. But she won, I think, the last relay race she won alongside the Jamaican team. So I know she's retiring, but I know she's gonna terrorize a few parents during her parents' day.
She's done it already. I think I've seen clips of her doing that.
Yeah, she's absolutely amazing. And I think it's really good that we live in a time where we can see, even when the athlete retire, we can see the after. So just in contrast, like, we value Kenyan athletes so much. We see their success as something so important to us and valuable to the national pride of this country. But I think our national pride should also be built for our citizens. The way we see Faith Kipyegon is the same way we should see Agnes Wanjiru.
That is true.
Like, they should not be, because you've done this for the country, then we get to hold you up. Every single Kenyan deserves dignity, and they deserve to be protected. And I think like Kenyan government can do better. If we're gonna prop up Kenyans who are absolutely winning, we can prop up Kenyans who are facing very, very difficult.
Yes, that is true. Doesn't mean that since you're not famous or popular or wealthy in any way, you're 3/5 of a man. Esther, you have the last word on the show today. If there's anything, absolutely anything that you feel you haven't expressed, could you please express it? Because you know about this case more than any of us in this room, including the guys behind the scenes, will ever know about it.
First is to thank you for hosting me here. And the other thing is, I'm traveling to the UK in October, 11 to 20th. And I'm kindly requesting people to come for me. There's a GoFundMe that is still running through, because I requested a fund that can be able to go to the UK and continue to law, because there's still more that should be done. I'm going to push for extradition and compensation, and this time they planned. So I'll not stop this because the court has issued warrant of arrest, because we are not sure this guy will be arrested. So I'm asking people of Corridor to counter for me so that we can make sure that Agnes, long delayed right, at least he has been some justice, especially to her daughter. And also to the two governments, please do the right thing. It doesn't have to take a case to be in the night for you to act, or these the cases to be reported every time for you to act. The high time now for you to do the right thing, both the Kenyan government and the British coming, because I think they're the first people who failed Agnes and the Agnes daughter and the family. So it's it's not too late. Yes, justice delayed is justice denied, but at least there's time. They can do the right thing, and do the right thing is summon the victims of British atrocities justice. Certainly in the Agnes case, the mistress and the other cases which have not gotten closure, they should do that. And also they make sure that the laws now that they are putting there, like no social or labor gate will immigrant in Kenya. Yeah. And even to the Sonias, do the right thing. Yeah, because if in their country, I don't think they can do this because they know the law will catch up with them. I don't know why they feel to do it in Kenya. Of course they know because there's cheap life here in Kenya, so they can do anything. So they should do the right here. They do it in their country. They should also do it there in the coast country.
Yeah.
I'm grateful.
Thank you for coming, Esther. Thank you. Justine, asante sana for doing this with me every week. Esther, good luck in the UK. Again, hope lies with you and the people that advocate for Agnes years after her death. And I really hope that, Justine, I feel like something is choking me here. Yeah, it must be the lies that the government is saying. But anyway, hopefully, Esther, your aunt is given justice after 13 years. Kenyans 100% know the people that are behind this more than ever. And to you who's watched us over the past hour, thank you for joining us for yet another episode of The Big Picture. I'd love to leave you with yet another round of The Last Catches trailer for you to watch and for your viewing after you watch this episode of The Big Picture. From us, me, Tom Muhwana, Justine Wanda, Esther, who gracefully joined us today, and everyone behind the scenes, thank you for watching and see you on the next one. Good night.
Pale ndio Brayo aliruka fence, akaenda kangukia pale. Hapo ndio KWS walianza kumpiga.
Na kutoka hiyo siku
Sijaiona mtoto wangu.
Justice for my son. Justice for my son. Justice for my son.
it is a sad story, but it is necessary to tell.
Tunaweza kuchukua na kusinkisha. Unaweza enda utupiwa tafisi.
Kuna maofisa wachache hawa wana control mambo ya uuzaji fish kwa njia ya haramu.